Nice Micro Monday. Violations to the free software licenses. So everyone has been talking about this so-called Truth Social by the Trump Media and Technology Group, how they ripped off some free software and violated its licenses. So let's dive into that nice micro style. First, when I saw this screenshot posted by someone who just told us that they registered as Donald Trump on Truth Social and posted this screenshot, and then later I've seen this screenshot too from apparently the same user. The first impression I had is like, oh, this looks very, very similar to Mastodon. As a Mastodon user myself, I saw it as soon as it came up as, oh, it's a Mastodon instance. And the second thought I had was that, is this really the real Truth Social, or did just someone start their own Mastodon server, put this logo up there, and just pretended that it is the actual Truth Social? So is this really the thing that the Trump Media and Technology Group was made, or is it just a prank that someone, made and pretended it to be? And no one seems to be talking about that possibility, so it's either, because the Trump Media and Technology Group never really came out saying that, wow, this is not our website, this is a spoof. Maybe people just think that, okay, then it means that it's actually theirs. And of course, why this is important, because if this is really what Truth Social is going to be, and this is really, like, as you can see, so no one would make it look exactly like Mastodon if they didn't just use the Mastodon code base, of course. So if this is true, that this whole thing is going to be a Mastodon instance, and you can join the waiting list here to join a Mastodon instance, then beside the fact that it would be really disappointing if this is what a rich person came up with, and it took them really months and months just to set up their own Mastodon instance. That would be really disappointing considering how even the Mastodon instance I'm on is just run by a regular person, a regular content creator, and they didn't spend this amount of time to set their own Mastodon instance up. So beside that disappointment of perceived incompetence, let's say, the problem is that this terms of service somewhere says that this is intellectual property rights. So even the software website design are owned and controlled or licensed to us and are protected by copyright and trademark laws. So they say it's a site, our proprietary property and all source code databases, etc. is something unless otherwise indicated. So this is, I think, kind of where most people get this, is that, well, they say it's proprietary and you cannot just put up something proprietary unless, if it's based on a free software that is licensed under some version of the GPL, then you cannot just put it there and saying it's proprietary property when it's not. Well, it's easily possible that they will just indicate it otherwise on the parts that they took from Mastodon. I don't know. This is kind of an out, I guess, for the developers if they want to. And so basically this is what everyone has been talking about. So even Vice, I don't know, did Vice ever care about free software? I don't think so. The Verge probably never cared about free software. And well, what is this? The Washington Examiner, I don't know if they ever cared about free software, but, well, they even used the wrong terminology, open source software terms. It just says software license. And alright, so the important thing is what people are saying here is that, which is the best, which describes it the best. I guess this one is Verge, does a great job here to say it quickly, well, doesn't it? Anyway, so the Mastodon founder also said yesterday that he intended to seek legal counsel about the situation, although didn't discuss specific course of action. Compliance with our AGPL v3 license is very important to me, and that is the sole basis upon which I and other developers are willing to give away years for work for free, which is very important. So they put this software out there to be available for everyone, and they put this license on it, so no one can make it proprietary, no one can hide it. And so let's just move from these very practical things to a little more theoretical, the theoretical plane, I guess, of discussing these services, because there is some confusion. So I had some discussions about this Truth Social on Mastodon, and elsewhere I read discussions and heard discussions about it on YouTube and other video platforms like Odyssey. And where people are saying that, Mastodon is licensed under the GPL, so it should be, if they really modified it, and it's really just this Truth Social is nothing else but like a Mastodon with some modifications, then they should publish their source code and cannot make it proprietary. There is one thing though, that what we've seen here is not something that should be in production. So what I mean by that is this is a leaked something. So this is a kind of they accessed this. If let's just assume that because no one is really thinking that this is like fake thing. Everyone is accepting this as like this is going to be the real Truth Social. It's not some kind of prank, or it's, how this could be legal. Well, it's the accessing of this server might not be considered legal, because even if you have the physical ability to find this server and access it, if it still can be like something that you shouldn't do. It's like, just because your neighbor's door is open, it doesn't mean you can go in and take their stuff. It's still illegal. It's the same with computers. Even if the server is accidentally being exposed to the public, but it's not supposed to be accessed by the public, and then you don't have a permission to use it. So in that case, we could assume that this is only a test version. This is only for internal use. Maybe this is not even going to be the Truth Social. Maybe the social platform itself will be really a proprietary thing that was written by their developers from zero, and they just used this Mastodon instance, like they just tried it out and they forgot to take down the server or something like that. What would that mean about when we talk about the GPL? And so there is a very nice Q&A forum, or like a frequently asked questions on the GNU website discussing this. Whereas the company is running a modified version of GPL program on a website, does the GPL say they must release their modified sources? And the thing is that to understand the answer to this question, what you have to understand what free software means, what the goal is. And the goal of free software is that when you run a piece of software on your computer, you as the user should have full control. So you have the right to study what the program does and modify the behavior of the program so it does exactly what you want to do and doesn't do what, someone else who wrote the program wants it to do. And for that, you have the right to access the source code and modify the source code and use it. And you also have the right to redistribute your modifications, but you don't have the obligation to redistribute. So you could just modify your own, modify the source code and run it on your own computer, like, for example, DWM. For DWM, to use DWM, you have to modify the source code to customize it, but nothing ever says that you have to publish this modified version. So you can just use the modified version on your own computer without publishing it. And that would, if it's like just a test version of something and you never intend other people to use it, you don't have to share the source code. So that is one thing about the GPL. And when it comes to server applications, you have to understand that the application itself is running on the server. So when you just interact as a user from the server, the program that is there, it's not running on your computer, it's just providing you the website, which is just data. So in that case, you could argue that, well, they are using GPL program without a modified version of a GPL program on their own server, and they don't, so you don't run that version, only they run it on their own computer, you don't run it on your computer, so they don't have to disclose the source code because it is just running, it's not running on your computer. But of course, there were people who were developing these free and open source web modes that wanted to avoid this, so they made a different license, which is this GNU Affero GPL, and the GNU Affero GPL, the AGPL, is what it says, that even if you don't run the software on your own computer, but you are accessing it through the internet and get the data it's giving to you, you still have to be given the source code. So and this is exactly, so when people say Mastodon is licensed under the GPL, that's not true. Mastodon is licensed under the AGPL, which is, well, I think it's been correctly pointed out here in the Verge article. And because Mastodon is actually licensed under the AGPL, because if they put this into production, so if let's say this website becomes the real Truth Social and will let everyone, the public, to use it, then anyone who is the member of the public using it will have to be given access to the source code, because they based this software on a platform that was licensed under the AGPL, so they also have to license it under the AGPL, and by licensing it under the AGPL, they accept that they have to publish this source code. Of course, in this case, even though they already got like the 30 days warning of stop breaking the rules of its software license, they could still argue, in my opinion, and well, I'm not a copyright lawyer myself, but based on what I've read, it is, I think they could argue that, well, this was never intended to be open to the public. They only used it in their for their own internal testing. They just tried to figure out how to work this Mastodon. Maybe they have already decided that they are not going to use this Mastodon code base. They just tested it and they just left it there accidentally. And in that case, they could argue that the people who were supposed to be able to use this were all the employees of this Trump Media and Technology Group, and by that extension they all already had access to the source code, while the public that gained ungranted access, or they didn't have they were unauthorized by accessing this server, they were not supposed to use it, so that's why they are also not going to need to disclose the source code to them. And I guess that might or might not be a fair point, I don't know. What also can happen, of course, which was one of my earlier thoughts before I read these reports, is that, well, it is also possible for the developer of Mastodon and the copyright owner of Mastodon just to sell a proprietary version to the Trump team. So they can say that, well, generally this is licensed under the AGPL, but I, the copyright holder, also license it separately to this organization to be able to use it in their proprietary platform. And in exchange, I guess I get paid a lot of money. So this is also a possibility, but this based on this reporting here, it seems like not to be the truth, because, well, they are seeking legal action as the developers. So I guess these are my thoughts on the issues surrounding Truth Social and my analysis based on the GPL and the AGPL licenses. And so if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. And if you have any other opinions, conflicting opinions, you can always, find me down there and argue with me in the comment section. And you can also subscribe for more content like this. Just hit the subscribe button so you never get not notified. And follow me on my Mastodon account, which is actually registered on a Mastodon server that abides by the license agreement and the software license. So I will see you next time. Nice Micro Monday. Bye.